Hey Alex, this is an interview with Candy. What's your last name?
Campbell.
Sorry. This is an interview with Candy Campbell. What's your official title?
I'm the Executive Director for Longmont Community Justice Partnership.
There we go. I'm just going to start right here. Thank you for welcoming me to this place. It's an awesome place, and thank you for letting me invade the Longmont Community Justice Partnership. So you guys are doing amazing, amazing things. Tell me how you got involved in this.
Wow. So most people, including our volunteers, get involved from something that's very personal or just by happenstance. And for me, I moved back to Longmont several years ago and applied for a position, and this was the only position I applied for any organization. I was very excited about what the program does, particularly because I am raising a 14-year-old boy. And to know, if you have children and you know it's problematic, our system does not encourage having alternative dispute resolution for juveniles,
right.
Particularly our court systems. So this program, which is 20 years old for our community, I'm very thankful to be a steward of those resources and really just every day get engaged with our potential and our possibility for how we address crime and conflict in our community. The newspaper has had a number of cases that we have been very blessed to have and be a part of. One was our cemetery case. I
saw that, yeah.
We had 5 juveniles and 1 adult offender who tipped over the headstones of about 150 we'll call them victims in the cemetery.
Absolutely.
And they decapitated a Civil War memorial. So the damages were in excess of $40,000.
Oh, wow.
And these are young kids who at the time are not calculating the end result or the implications or the impact of what their engagement was.
Well, they're kids, right?
They're kids. Mm-hmm.
You're not expecting their brains to be able to extrapolate all that far out. That's why they get to be kids, right?
And with some adult influence,
right.
These kids could have ended up with a very different story for the rest of their life. For us, just being able to engage with a juvenile or an offender, or a first-time offender, juvenile or adult, on the front end is a very different impact and story all around. It's for us to relay any number of cases is exciting because the end result really does tell a much bigger picture. And
yes,
if you've ever received a speeding ticket and gone to court and been in front of a judge, that's very intimidating, even for something as simple as a speeding ticket. Now imagine a 15-year-old who's caught distributing Adderall at his school. Like, that's a felony offense.
Right.
Imagine what that's going to look like in front of a court. So
yeah.
we're just very fortunate to have a community that addresses a lot of unusual cases in a very humane way.
Interesting. In a humane way. We would think that would be happening in general, you know. So to sum up, you applied for this position because you saw what was going on here, and you went, "Wow, I want to be a part of
that." Want to be a part of that. I think what I thought it was and what it turned out to be for me were 2 very different things.
Interesting.
Once you start participating in a personal way, it's not what you expect.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
There has been, I guess, speculation about what a restorative justice conference might look like. For many, it's very kumbaya, very Boulderish, very soft, and slap on the hand, and give an apology, and you're good to go. That's not what this is at all.
Right.
My first conference, I was blown away with the amount of repair to harm that the offender wanted to engage in, and did so, and it far exceeded what any court mandate would have instilled.
So, wait a minute, I got to back up and I got to replay that for everybody. So what you're saying is that the offender, the person that had done the wrong, and when you say the restorative conference, you mean the circle?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're talking about a circle, which is where they gather a certain number of people together, and we'll talk more about a circle later, but this is where the magic happens. This is where the offender and the victim and other individuals come together and resolve the issue in a more humane, in a more intelligent manner than ascribing punitive damages and walking away. And so what you just said to me was that through this circle, the offender decided to do more than he would have been asked to do otherwise. And that to me is restoring justice, because this offender not only recognizes that he's done something wrong, but is willing to do more to repair the damage. And we don't get that out of our current system. We don't get that out of prisons. So, just wanted to put that in there. Now, continue on.
I think we get to serve over 550 kids a year through our schools program and through our community program. And every single one of those kids who get to participate, both victim and offender, the impact is significant. So again, each one has a story, each one has a background story, each one has a family story, each one has just what led them up to the circumstances in the first place story.
Right.
And when we get to a victim and offender coming together and saying, let's talk about this, this is how you impacted me, and this is how you affected me, this is what you did. I mean, you could have tagged my wall at my house, and I'm upset. But if you just paid for the damages, that's not really going to help me.
Right.
And I didn't get to talk to you about why this hurt. Like that building that you tagged could have been my great-great-grandmother's house that her husband built for her.
Right.
To be able to express that story isn't something you get to express in court.
No. And I don't even care, right?
Right.
I think, where were we? Dad, I don't know where we were. We heard somebody say it yesterday, it blew my mind. They said, I don't teach my offenders to tell the truth. So it was talking about lawyers talking to their offenders when we were talking about how bring restorative practices. Like, we don't even tell our offenders to tell the truth. That'd be a bad idea, right? We want to win the case. The legal system is about winning, not about who's right or wrong or what damage was done or repairing it. It's just, let's win. And it's removed the truth. This is about sharing the truth, everyone's truth, what was going on with the offender, what's going on with the victim, and getting everybody to understand. And because it involves other individuals in the community, there's a ripple effect as this goes out. And I think that's what you've seen over 20 years. I mean, you haven't been here personally for 20 years, but you came in and saw that it had been functioning. Right? And I didn't mean to steal your steam, but this is, this is day 2 for me, and the interviews I did yesterday just got me all fired up, and now I'm talking to Candy, and I'm just ready to, let's go build this across the country. So, keep going.
And funny you say that. Building across the country, this has sparked a movement. We're very fortunate to have legislation passed in Colorado that is highly encouraging the use of restorative practices as a first response. It's confusing for judicial districts and for municipalities. It's confusing for schools because it's another potential method.
Right.
And when they see results, and for us, we're, again, a 20-year legacy organization. We've been doing this from the grassroots, ground up, community, entrenched, and that process is liberating, and that's something to replicate. And we've learned that through watching other organizations try to replicate. If you don't have community buy-in, if you don't have participation, you don't have a great program. You struggle. You're trying to instill or enforce, again, something that's new, or you hope that it works. For us, it only works because we have the partners that we do, and it only works because of our volunteers and our community participation. Those same community members have a voice for that person, that offender, and that victim. They have representation. And you wouldn't have that in court either. You get to sit without a voice and watch what transpires, and that is shaping a young person's life. Whether you're in court, or you end up beyond court and stay in the system, or you're sitting in front of someone that you wronged, and you're able to repair that. That empowerment for these young individuals is significant. Yeah,
you just took the word I was going to use, empowerment, because we're empowering the offender to right the wrong. Where in our current system, we take away all their power and send them into a box. And I've heard several things I wanted to say out of that, but I've heard this statement repeated over and over and over again, that you're giving. What did Mike say yesterday? Mike said the most beautiful thing. I don't have that interview edited yet. I'm way far behind, but he said, with all, we look at their gifts. The offender, what are your gifts? Not just what have you done, but he likes football and he can draw, right?
What are your assets?
What are your assets? What can you provide, because you are still a part of the community, right? You still belong. We're not ostracizing you because you did something wrong. We want to bring you back in and help you become more of a part of this community. And that, I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? And I think what we're seeing is the old establishment had removed, in its effort to be efficient, in its effort to be, you know, let's get things done, the heart was removed.
It's also the labeling. Yeah. If you are a tagger, because you tagged my building, you're a tagger.
Right.
Not John.
Right.
John who is a videographer, John who is a documentary person, John who is all of these assets that are that contribute to our community. You are labeled as a tagger, or an arson, or a thief, and these kids come in with that label before you even start this process.
Right.
Because that's what's familiar, and by the time they are exiting this process and have identified, this is who I am as a person, and I am not my label, and here's how I can right this wrong. You put the human component back in.
Yes. And
for us, the recidivism rate for kids that go through our program is so, I mean, we blow it out of the water for national statistics.
Right, right. I mean, I keep hearing numbers. By the way, the statistic now is being shared everywhere. I took this little quote, and it's basically 62% national, 10% Longmont. And that's, I mean, it may waver back and forth. I think it's even less.
I think we're even less.
Yeah, I think they're even less than that. But, I mean, you brought up a very, very good point. This is something, so many points here. Something you said that we were talking about before we started, and that is you tried implementing this with the county. And the county broke away from the service structure that had been set up, and it didn't work, right? And what you told me was that you realized that it wasn't the process that was successful, it was the fact that the community, that everything had started from the ground up, that it really takes people like Dan Benavides, who, you know, a community member, an activist, they started this at the ground level. If you don't have a solid foundation in your community and solid communication between your community and your fire and police and government officials, then you cannot build this process. And you guys learned that the hard way. You had all the money, you had all the resources, but the community wasn't invested.
Right.
Nobody was invested in the heart of the matter. They were just, let's drop this process in like it's another law, right?
Yep. So. You can't, replicating is I guess not a good word to use. To
emulate,
to look at a foundation and aspire, and bring in resources and buy-in and participation and support. Those are all community words, not hierarchy or system words. And to replicate into another system is what's problematic. It's turning a program into a cookie-cutter program, and that's not what we do. We serve. Our job is to serve our community.
Great.
We serve our volunteers. I serve my staff.
You don't serve cookie cutters.
No, we don't.
You don't serve cookies. You serve
do
human
serve
beings.
Cookies. That's part of our.
Well, you said they do serve cookies.
Do serve cookies.
But we're talking about human beings, and you can't cookie cut. You can't make solutions like that for individuals, especially when you're looking at their individuality, their talents. And I mean, it's just a much more intelligent, much more involved way. And if we take this farther, and it goes beyond the community, and we can grow that foundation in a county, and then grow that foundation in a state, and then take that foundation across the country, that's how we rebuild the real infrastructure here. You know?
And then maybe New Zealand.
Oh, okay, let's go to New Zealand.
Maybe New Zealand.
My understanding is that, I mean, as I've been researching this, it's going on all over the world. What's happening in the pocket of Longmont is just a really successful United States example, but this stuff is everywhere.
Yes, this stuff is everywhere, and you really want to encourage and acknowledge those organizations that have seen and been inspired to do this work. And again, that's a community entrenchment. It's not replicating a program and planting it into a community. You have to have people that really want it,
right,
and see the value of it, and they do that because of a personal experience and tie to it.
So it kind of self-perpetuates. As more people become involved and more people act, they want to do more with it, whether you're an offender or a victim or a volunteer, a police officer. And one of my favorite aspects of this is that all of these cases are police officer referred. I mean, the officer has to decide this can go to community justice and not the court system. Okay? So The police officers are invested in this because they have seen that it works, and they had to make the choice to say, this child is going to go this way and not that way. Right? The other thing that blew me away that I didn't know was that you've got 25% adults running through this program.
Yes, you do.
And I thought it was all youth, but it's been expanded. Was it originally that way, or did it expand to that?
It's always been that way.
Wow.
A lot of our grants have been received because of our attention to students and to youth in our community, but we end up running two separate programs now, one within the culture of a school district and in the schools themselves, and one that's our community program. It could be the same kid, but if he offends on campus, then it's our school resource officers that are referring the case, and we're handling it within the school culture itself. Conferences literally are at the school with student team members and their peers as part of the community member group. So it's yes, and it happens so that if you're walking down the halls, it's that reintegration process that's really important too. That hey John, I saw you went through a community group conference here, and how are you doing? Turning in your contract items. That spray can in your hand might not be a good idea because you just went through this. Where are you at? And having that peer accountability is so amazing, and a lot of our offenders who had come through the school program end up being on our student team. They become new leaders, so it's really transformed our program to be more of preventative and a leadership. I think we're club status now at our Longmont High School student team.
Oh, seriously?
Yes, so we literally have a viable student team program.
Wow. That,
again, a lot of other communities look at with how did you do that? It kind of grows organically, and it's the students who make that work. Same student, if it's a Saturday afternoon and it's summer, it could be a different officer.
Right.
And that officer who also knows what we do is still sending a referral. It's managed through our community program. So the benefit is by working as a community partner, doesn't matter where this youth offends, that there is a system in place or a program in place and an understanding in place and community partners in place that are there for this youth.
That's amazing. I mean, wow. So what I'm hearing in a bigger picture is that instead of taking an offender and punishing them, kicking them off on their way, we take an offender, we tell them we still value them and they're a part of the system. We help them we help them right the wrong, and then we care for them by paying attention to this individual and being mentors and peers to help them grow in the right direction. Something we don't do at all in our current system. This is volunteer driven, and it's working in their community because it is not siloed into one place. It's pockets of activity everywhere. And I'm just going to say the one thing that I've heard from all of these people is that it takes members of the community giving a shit, getting off their butts, and doing something. And there are no easy words to say, but Mike Butler said in our interview yesterday, and I can't wait to break it out, that community members need to take an active role, and community leaders need to listen, and they need to work together to create these partnerships. They can't just expect the community leaders to come up with solutions and then have the community sit back on its butt and expect them to function. That's not how it works in a real community today. We're connected. And I think what you have shown me here, all right, I keep hearing about all these new things, this over here, and this over here, and this over here, is that how much can we spread it out, Don't keep it contained and locked. It just needs to grow organically.
Yeah. There's two really key components for most people to be aware is this is a voluntary and volunteer-based program. If there's an offender, no matter what age, and they do not want to participate, they're not taking responsibility, they will not go through our program.
Right, they go through the regular system.
They go through the system. So it is not mandated that you, John, will go through this program. The officer might think it's a great program for you, knows your family, knows your history, but you are, nope, I am not taking responsibility. I wanted to tag that building. I want to do it again. It's that kind of response means you're not ready to sit in a conference and take accountability and responsibility.
Right.
So you will end up going through court. Now, by the time it gets to the judge, there are options. The judge can say, and in addition to this, now that you've come this far, I think restorative justice might be a great viable option for you.
Really?
In addition to your your fine here, I'm going to suggest if you'd like a reduction in this fine, would you be willing to go through a restorative justice conference?
Wow.
And you can still opt in. That's a big misunderstanding too about restorative justice. It's not an either or.
Right. You always have.
It is a diversion program that an officer can send you through, or a judge can send you through an RJ program as an option. But there are a number of cases nationally where there was a youth. I think he was over 21. He was in college. It was vehicular homicide. He was in a vehicle with his best friend, but he was inebriated. So his best friend died. He's serving prison time for the death of his friend, and he was at the wheel. It's the mother who wanted this process.
Wow. And
he agreed to it. She got to sit in front of this young man who killed her son, and she had a different, she speaks now nationally about her experience, but she said, I was going into this conference with the idea of I'm going to tell him everything that I'm angry about and expect him to do something. And she said it was so beautiful how this is not what this was.
Right.
You don't come in to attack an offender. You come in and there's dialogue, and it's facilitated dialogue. She said she walked away from that with such a deep, heartfelt compassion for the man who was in the car that killed her son. Right. And she said, I couldn't have even imagined what he was feeling, or the guilt and remorse after what he went through. And to have that personal dialogue with someone else, the human side of that, you wouldn't have gotten that in court either. It's that punitive punishment to feel better that someone took something away from you. And again, this is a voluntary process. It doesn't have to be court ordered. It could be self-referred.
Right.
So she requested this, and he agreed to it.
The mother,
it has to be mutual.
The mother of the victim, really the victim, the mother of the child that was murdered, requested this.
Yes.
It's just beautiful, and experienced something she was not expecting. She requested it so she'd have a soapbox to yell and be angry, and she ended up being healed. And it's this compassion, it's this heart of the matter that we're talking about. I think I've taken up so much of your time. We're going to do more stuff. You're going to show me more things, and we've got lots to talk about. But I think we'll end this right here. Okay. If there's anything you have to say, or what would you like to tell everybody as we tell the LCJP stories, or anything you'd like to leave them with? Any messages of wisdom? No?
Well, yeah.
I'll put you on the spot, Candy. Come on, think of something smart to say.
I think in the 2 years that I've been here, the one big piece that I have learned personally is that we're stewards. My team, our volunteers, our community partners, legislators, district attorneys, judges, we are all stewards of this really great process and community component. And I'm just very thankful to be a part of it, watch it evolve and grow. Colorado's a trailblazer, and that's big shoes to fill, but we're excited to be doing the work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There'll be more about the LCJP story, and you'll hear more from Candy later on. If you're interested in restorative justice, restorative practices, please share this story, and please join us online at LCJP Community in Google+.